We are live. Well, okay, Amy, so tell me if you can hear my shoes on the mic. Probably not, because they're so good. How does that look for... Can everyone see me?
I can hear you, but I'm going to see if I can hear your shoes here in 1 second, because it's on delay. No. You already walked around.
Oh, I was testing for you. Hey everybody, we're just getting everything signed on here, making sure the audio's good. And then we'll begin. Then we will begin.
Yeah, you can hear them, but it's not horrible.
I'll just knock them off, it's easier. How's that? That's much quieter.
The audio sounds good.
Okay. So 1,
Yep.
2, 3.
Yep.
All right. Hey everybody. Is it time? Can we go?
Yeah.
All right.
We've got, it says 12:15 or 2:59.
2:59. We'll give it 1 second. Hey everybody. I'm Chad from Turner's Warehouse. If you're in the chat, say hello. Let us know where you're from. Let us know if it's your first time or if you're a regular, because it's always fun to see if we have first timers.
We got a bunch of regulars in the
Who
chat.
watched last week? Did you guys like the fountain pen discussion, show and tell, so to speak? I thought it was pretty cool. It was really fun seeing those pens. So from my perspective, it was really cool because I got to handle like multiple really awesome pens.
Kevin Carpenter says, first time.
Kevin Carpenter, welcome to your first live stream. It's good to have you here.
He's funny.
Good old Kevin. All right. Anyway, so if you didn't check out last week's live stream and you're interested in fountain pens, go check it out. It was pretty cool. And we'll be having more stuff on that in the future. So stick around and you'll see more of that. But today, let's see, do I have anything I need to mention today? Oh. This is kind of a side note. If anyone is waiting for the jet stream from Beaufort Inc., it came in this morning. So that's a cool thing. It's so new, I haven't even made one yet because they literally just got here. And it's been a busy day. So jet stream is here. We got SWAT coming up in about a month, right? So if you're going to SWAT, we'll see you there. We've got several good live streams planned the next couple weeks. And some really good sales. Right now, the ring sale is ending, right, Amy?
Yeah, it'll go through midnight tonight.
Ring sale ends tonight at midnight, and the new stuff started today, which is...
casting supplies. So
casting
all Maker
supplies.
Select molds are on sale.
Maker Select molds, which we're going to talk about, are on sale.
Dyes.
Dyes, resins.
Dyes. And
eye
Stoner
candy.
mold release. And
Eye
eye
candy,
candy
15% off, so good time to do that. But this is a good day for Maker Select molds because we're going to use them today. That's going to be pretty cool. All right. Did I miss anything that I need to talk about?
I don't think so.
Thank you to everyone for being regulars, or if you're first time, for being a first timer. It's really cool to see all the people come every week and watch and chat. And a lot of good discussion last week, I noticed. There was a lot of chat about fountain pens and nibs and all kinds of stuff. So pretty cool. So, should we get started?
Yeah.
All right. Well, as usual, I'm Chad from Turner's Warehouse. Amy's moderating, so she's on the chat. So if you have questions, throw them out there. If she can answer them, if it's like something simple or a product question, she'll answer it. If it's related to this, she'll throw it to me and we'll answer your question live here on the live stream. So it'll be kind of fun. Now today we are doing color pencil pouring. And specifically we're going to make a pen blank and actually maybe one bonus blank here. But specifically pen blanks today. Now, I did bring in this big blank here to show everyone. This is I want to say this is like 100, it's 12 dozen, so 144 color pencils. Here, go to 2 and you'll see it.
I was already on 2.
Already on 2. And this is a, anyone recognize the shape of this thing? This is the bottom. You probably have these in your cupboard at home. This is a protein container, an empty one, that I use for a mold. And it makes a really good mold. It fits color pencils really well. And I didn't trim this so you could see that the floaters are kind of an issue. You don't want floaters, but it doesn't, by all means, it doesn't ruin it. Especially on the sides, because usually it's like down in the curve. I guess I should hold it out here. Down in the curve. But, you know, we'll trim this off top and bottom and have a really cool blank. But what you can do with stuff like that, ow, twisted my ankle, is make stuff like this. Are you still on this one?
Yep.
So this is a little vessel, vase, whatever you want to call it. It was made by one of our customers. He's 92, and he's made these for his whole family, and he made this one for our shop. And he made it out of one of the blanks that we make. So really cool design. What's really cool when you do color pencils like this, and I doubt anyone has not seen color pencils because they are all the rage online, but you really get a cool look of like some pencil, some of the angle, and then some of the ends, even just in this short distance. And then of course the ends are always cool looking. But you can make really cool stuff out of it. And pens, here's a pen blank. Pens are a really good one. And I can tell you from my old days of pen selling, back to one, Amy. My old days of pen selling, that color pencil pens sell really well. People love the look of them. They always recognize it as something that they know. Sometimes they can't place it, which is funny because they're like, I know I'm looking at something very familiar, but I just can't tell you what it is because once it's small and round, it's kind of unique. But they love them for gifts for teachers or family and friends, whatever. So color pencils are a cool thing to play with. Now, we're going to cast color pencil blanks. If you're not into casting, you may not want to get into casting just for color pencil blanks. But if you're already into casting, it could be something you could add to it. So that's kind of a cool thing. Oh, let me show you one other thing. I forgot to grab one of these. So these, these are casts I'm doing for a customer. And they brought the pencils in. Here, I'll do it over here again. And you can see they did like color patterns. So somehow they had a lot of colored pencils. And they were able to do color patterns. They did some that were like pink and blue, some that were white and blue, red and white and blue. And they're all colored. This one, they kind of did darker colors as a swirl. And you can see they're using old coffee containers. I don't know how the tape will work, but it should work fine. But if you can do one container, it's always easier. And you'll just cut away this container when you go to turn it. But anything will work. This was another coffee wake up blend from Trader Joe's. So you get 2 uses out of it. That's kind of cool. So you can do lots of different stuff. You can make really cool things. But these blanks tend to be expensive because this is 12 dozen pencils. And, you know, if they're $3-4 a dozen, you're talking $50 in pencils already to start. So depending on the pencils and how many it uses, that's why some pricing can be a little high. But it's still worth it in my opinion. Now, let's go over what we're going to use today. We are going to use, for resin, epoxy resin, liquid diamonds. I got a little bit left in this one and I got a fresh one ready. We're going to use liquid diamonds. We're going to use cups and sticks. We're going to use a thermometer, even though the temp isn't super important. I've got gloves, paper towels, a scale. Whenever you do resin casting, you want a good, clean scale. Right? Nice and clean.
I mean, that's not clean at all.
I mean, I can see the readout, so that's good. And then probably the most important thing is we're going to use our Maker Select molds. These are block molds. These are our deep block molds. We make these. They're made here in Arizona by us for you. So we love these things. And honestly, I think everybody knows I'd tell you if there was something else out there that would work. Any block mold will work, but I prefer these, and I hope you do too because they're great. So let's get started, shall we? Now,
somebody was saying Dollar General could be a good place to get one-off things to cast in.
yeah, dollar stores and all kinds of stuff, stores like that, you can get mold materials because If it's only $1, it's worth it for one cast because you're not spending a fortune on it. So for those big ones, they're usually one and done. You know, we don't get them out of their hole. We got to cut the plastic off. So, okay, let's talk pen blanks. So, what you can see with this pen blank, number 2 here, Amy, is the short pieces are running in the middle and the long pieces are on the side. We do it both ways. This way looks cool. It doesn't look bad in any way. However, I actually like to have the short pieces on the outside and the long pieces in the middle. And the reason being is when you go to turn your pen, you've got all these little short pieces, and then you get to see this in a very short fashion on the side of your pen. Now, that's good and bad because it looks awesome. However, you're putting a lot of pressure on all those little pieces not to fly out when you're turning. So there's some tricks you can do when turning. I think we have videos on that, don't we? Old videos. If not, we'll repost an old video if we have them, or we'll make a new one about turning these because there are some tricks that are key. But it's really worth it to get that look, in my opinion. Now, one thing, if you are turning these and something comes out, try to find it, because a lot of times you can glue it in and you won't even know it's missing or was ever missing, because it'll go right back in the same spot perfectly. But what we're going to do is make these the other way, so the little parts are on the outside. And we need to know a few things for that first. Any questions? Are we good?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Oh, people were saying you can get color pencils at the dollar store.
Oh, color pencils at the dollar store.
Yeah.
I've never looked there. I would be nervous that the dollar store color pencils would be like a 6-pack, you know, so it would seem like a good deal, but then in reality it's like, you know how they make smaller stuff at the dollar store? I don't know.
Somebody says a dozen of Crayola for $1. That's a bargain.
That's a good deal. If you can get a dozen Crayolas, that's a good deal. So, yeah, maybe check out the dollar store if this is something you're going to do. Now, I have found that for my color pencil blanks, 3 layers of pencils is perfect. That's why you see 3 layers here on the end. If I'm looking weird, it's because I'm looking at the camera screen here, making sure I'm in the center. Sometimes they don't want to focus. Anyway, so there's 3 layers, 1, 2, 3. And the block mold works great. Now, this mold is slightly longer than wider, which is good for when you're cutting your blanks, but you got to know which way your pencils should start and stop so you get that right pattern in your blank. So for this one, we're going to cut the blanks this direction. So this is the long side, this is the short side. We're going to cut the blanks this direction. So I want my first layer to go horizontal. So let's go to this camera here. And what I'm going to do is show you what I've got laid out here. You can see I've got 3 cups. I've actually got 6 because I've got it twice because I've got 2 molds. But I've got 3 cups. And I've cut these to the length of my mold. So if I drop these in here, and I always do a test fit with color pencils because I like to have the exact number, and I'll show you why that's important in a minute. And then this one, you can see I've got just a little bit of sanded, rounded edge. That goes in the corner, and then the pencils will lay right up flush to it. So that's the first layer. Now the second layer is my next cup. And of course you can like take your time and alternate these colors however you want. A lot of times I don't like to have the same color next to each other, but I'm not too picky. Randomness is kind of the key here. So that's a full layer there. And then on top, I should have one corner piece, the little sanded. And you don't have to do that sanded thing, but I think it helps it tighten it up. So I like to do that, especially if how this mold has a little bit of curve. And so there's the top layer. Now the reason this is good to do is I know by using each cup that I have the perfect amount of pencils. Once I have resin in here and I'm trying to stuff those pencils in, it's hard to like know if I've got it even or if I've got enough pencils or too many and they're sticking up, because if you have them too tight and they're bulging up like this in your mold, that will not look good. If you don't have enough, you'll have gaps in your blank, which you don't want. So by doing this, I know this is one layer, and it goes in there. I know this is one layer, it goes in there, and this is one layer. And I know that that's the perfect blank right there, those 3 cups. So that's why I do that.
Are the molds square or longer one way than the other?
The question is, are the molds square or longer one way or the other? They are slightly rectangular. So this is the long side, and then you can see, whoops, that's the short side by about a 1/2 inch. And I forget the exact measurement. I'm sure it's on our website under block molds, the Maker Select block molds. For some reason, the exact measurement is escaping me at this moment, but they're made that way on purpose so that when you cut these into pen blanks, you get the right amount, and then you have a little room for trim to make them look good. So you want to do that. Now, I sprayed these with Stoner a while ago, and then I'll even take a little bit of paper towel, and I know this sounds crazy, but just kind of wipe it out, because I don't want a lot of Stoner in there. That'll come off on my pencils, because I'm going to kind of be pushing them around and rolling them around, and I don't want it on there. Now, the reason I use epoxy is Liquid Diamonds is the epoxy we like here. We sell this. We use it all the time. Epoxies have a better stick factor to the pencils, in my opinion. I'm sure you can get away with Alumilite. There's nothing wrong with Alumilite. But anytime I have something where there's a surface that I want the resin to stick to, I use the Liquid Diamonds. Now, side note, we just got a fresh shipment of Liquid Diamonds today. Like what, about 2 hours ago? Mm-hmm. So anything you have in stock is brand new fresh resin, which is always important with your resin. If you buy resin from a place that doesn't rotate it, you will get old resin most of the time, and it will not work as well for you. So, did I cover everything?
I think so.
Who knows? Let's start mixing this, and then we'll see how it goes. Let me grab. So whenever you're going to pour, you want to be prepared, like I am right now, right? Just kidding.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for a shelf. There they are. For the pot rack. So we're going to do 2 today. So I'm going to put a shelf in the pot rack. I don't want to be looking for this later. Now, the other beauty of this versus like the last time we cast is we have a long open time with Liquid Diamonds. So I've got more than enough time to make a couple batches and dilly-dally and do whatever, and I won't be in any rush. But if I was, you know, you'd want to be prepared ahead of time. So let's see here. We'll use this big guy. I don't remember how much resin I need. Now you can do a calculation of your length times your width times your depth times, what was it, 0.65, 0.66, something like that, for a calculation. Now, that would be totally out the window because these pencils are taking up like the bulk of this space. So we actually probably won't need near as much resin as you might think. But let's go ahead and just use this up, and we'll see how it goes. All right, let me get this under the camera here if I can. Try not to dump everything. Does that look all right overhead? Okay. Good enough. All right, so I want to zero this out. Then I'm going to pour in my Liquid Diamonds. Now, Liquid Diamonds is a 2-to-1 ratio. So for every ounce I add here, I need to add half as much in part B. Oh, let's stop right there. So 11:11, we'll call it 11:10 for math's sake. So that would be 5.5 plus half of 0.1. So 5.55 is what I'm looking for here. All right. Ooh, a little crust on the rim here. 5.55. Pouring out of big jugs is always more difficult for like controlling it slowly. So if you're doing a very small amount and you need to be a little more precise, pour it into cups and you will be just fine. So I got 0.57. That 0.02 will not cause me any problems, so I'm good. And if we need more, we got a little bit more in that jug, so we will do that. Now, you can see maybe that it's a little cloudy. This is a good example. We want to stir this until it's crystal clear. So I'm just going to start stirring. Quick question, let's have it.
Do you just bundle up a bunch of pencils and then cut them on the bandsaw?
Oh, the question is, how do I cut the pencils? Do you bundle up a bunch and cut them on the bandsaw? Yeah, so I do cut them on the bandsaw. Funny enough, I used to just like measure in the box and just cut the whole box in half. But I didn't, I had some already cut today, so I just measured the ones that were cut for my molds, and I just set the fence on the mold. And I just cut them like 3 at a time. You don't want to be like have a whole wad of them. You want it nice and flat like any other piece of material, because if you have them lifted off the table, they'll catch. So just do it carefully. Pencils, colored pencils are really soft. I don't know what the wood is. Maybe somebody out there knows. But the wood is really soft. So it cuts like a breeze. But yeah, if you can figure out the addition in the box of like the packaging, you can just like measure and cut the whole box in half, which is really easy because then they're all just in the same spot. They don't go flying everywhere. Now the other thing is I always keep the cutoffs. You can see here, and I'll show you why in just a minute. But if you don't want the cutoffs, you know, they go flying, then it doesn't matter. But I like the cutoffs because, like I was saying, they're expensive, and I don't want to, I'm going to come over here. I don't want to waste anything. And the blanks I'm going to make with the cutoffs are really cool looking, so, or blank at least. This was pretty much these 6 cups worth of cutoffs. We'll make probably 1 handle blank. We'll see here in a minute. So why not make an extra blank out of it, right? All right, so we're doing this clear. Now, somebody might ask, why wouldn't you just put all the pencils in like we did before and dump the resin in? I've tried it. It never gets everywhere perfectly. There's always pockets of air somewhere. No matter how much pressure you use or whatever you do, like the pencils are tight enough in certain spots. You got to imagine they're laying on each other and whatever, that you'll get a pocket of air. So I always put resin in, then the pencils, a little more resin, more pencils. And I try to just do it in layers so that everything gets coated and surrounded. Now you'll see I'm stirring the liquid diamonds for a long time here. Epoxies need a lot of stirring. And I didn't take the temp at the start because it's not super important because I have such a long open time, 75 degrees. So it hasn't heated up at all. If I was doing Alumilite, it probably would have already gone up 5 or 6 degrees. All right. So while I'm stirring, I'll tell you guys the same thing I always tell for everything resin related. If it's something you think you'll get into and you'll do it a lot, totally do it. If you're not sure, don't buy all the stuff to resin cast because it's an expensive thing to start up in and it's an expensive thing to get good at. We were talking at the last casting resin about like there's some really great makers out there. Those people didn't just like buy a pressure pot and start off. They probably spent thousands of dollars on resin getting really, really good. So unless you're sure you're going to get into it, I would just buy blanks from people you like or from Turner's Warehouse or whatever. But make sure you're going to get into it before you invest all the money in pots and molds and things like that. Wait, that's probably a terrible thing to say since we sell molds and pots. What I mean to say is buy a mold and a pot no matter what. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, you don't want to.
Kevin says now you tell me.
Yeah, Kevin knows. See, it was easy from the start, right? All right, so I'm going to just set this aside. Amy, let's go back to the overhead. What we're going to do, pour a little bit in this first mold. And I'm not worried about how much because it doesn't really matter. Because I'm going to have to keep adding a little bit here and there. And I'm going to go to my first cup. Actually, I'm going to look for my little corner cup here. Or corner piece. And like I said, you don't have to do that. All right, so I'm just dropping them in. And you see they don't really move well like they did before. What I do like to do is I'll take one from the next cup and kind of use it to just push everything down. But see those big giant bubbles coming out of there? And I'm going to push them around to where they get resin all the way around them. And I'm going to shove them all down. But they really do stick together and clump. So once I think they're all good, I can kind of push them down. But they're going to float. I mean, they're wood in liquid. So they're going to float. So now I can put my next one here. And if I push down on it, you'll see it kind of flattened it all out. Hopefully that showed on camera because that worked out really good. And now I can just put these in. And same thing, I'm just going to drop them in. If you're concerned about color, you could throw a light color and a dark color in between. But I am going to stir them. Not stir, I'm just kind of moving them so they get resin all the way around them. Put them in the open resin here. And we are using a pressure pot, so we're going to try to get rid of all the bubbles, but we don't want to make it harder on ourselves. And these are Walmart color pencils, if anyone's wondering. I don't know, they're not Walmart brand, but they're Walmart, from Walmart. Put a little more. That should be good. All right, drop those last couple in. I'll put the brown one down here. Take one from the next. All right, looks like we got resin all over everything. And I'm not necessarily trying to get them flat, I'm just getting resin around them. If I just dumped them in there, it would totally not flow. All right, so now the last cup. Got my corner piece here, put that one on the end. All right, we'll try to mix these up a little bit. Dark, light. And if you wanted to get enough pencils, you could really do cool stuff with the colors and the patterns. All right, I need a little more resin in here. Now, this is gonna look misleading. Like it looks like I need a lot of resin, but this whole thing is probably floating. So I'm gonna have to push it down. And when I do, all the resin's gonna come up. So what I like to do is I will take 2 extra pencils and I'll put them on top like this. And then I'll put a mold or 2. Let's see, let's move these this way. So I can do 2. And these are silicone molds. So you can see a little bit of resin came up, but I need more resin. Better to have too much than not enough. Wait, did I say that right? Better to have not enough than too much. No, that's wrong. All right, so I'm pushing it down. Hopefully you can see all the resin squeezing out. Now I just kind of moved my pencils up there, so I got to be careful. This is not an exact science. That should work. Now, I only needed really 1 of those. I was just using that to push. So I'm going to set this aside because it's going to be a mess. But that will just kind of sit there. And generally, I've found that those are enough weight. If I was worried that it wasn't, I could wrap it in tape or rubber bands to hold this down. Also, I can just set these on top of each other, and the top one will hold the bottom one. So that's no big deal. Which we could do that, actually. Why don't we do that? We won't even use the shelf. So in the rack, the first one will go. So that was pretty simple, but you see how important a couple little things are. Let's do the next one here. This one will seem like a breeze. Whoop, put a lot of resin in it that time. All right, first one. And I should have a little corner piece. I'll set that aside. Grab an extra. Now this one has a lot more bright colors, so clearly this was a different box or a different spot in the box, right? There's a pink, a blue, and a white. I don't know if there were any pink and blue in the other. The others were more browns and greens.
I think it would be so worth it to do
Colors, like patterns.
color patterns.
Amy said it'd be worth it to do color patterns. Yeah, and you could even do like, if you're giving it to a teacher, you could do like school colors.
Oh, that'd be
Or like you could do like red, white, and blue for like Labor Day or whatever, 4th of July. You could do company colors. Like, so you really could tailor it to something cool if you wanted to. All right. We're going with cup 2. So we got all our cups back here. Cup 2 coming in. I've never, I mean, I did do one time where I only used a couple colors, but for the most part, I always just do random because that's kind of the point of the look, is they're very random. All right, those are nice and flat. Now watch what happens here if I push down on this one. See all the resin coming out? So there's a lot more resin in there than it looks. It's kind of misleading. All right, let's get it in here. And I think I mentioned earlier, like I haven't made a lot of these since I was selling regularly at shows and stuff, which I don't do anymore, but these were great sellers.
They always sold really well. That's why we don't have any.
Yeah, that's why we don't have any on the display, because all of them had sold back in the day. But I'll be making some more for these, for the video. But if you're doing craft shows or anything like that, definitely put some of these in the mix, because you'll be glad you did. All right, let's do that.
Especially with school colors. I like that.
Yeah, I think school colors would be real cool. I don't think I ever did that, did I? I don't remember doing it. I never did a lot of mixed.
No, I always am like, you should do mixed, and you're like, random.
Yeah.
You have to have a lot of.
You have to have a lot of
sets.
pencils to do, yeah. If you're only doing a couple colors out of each set, you would need a ton of sets. So, yeah, it would be really cool, but it could be really expensive too. But there on the same side, you still have all the other pencils to use. So I'm just kind of putting pressure on this. You know what I just thought of, and I don't know how I didn't think of it before. If you cut a pencil a little long, just barely, you could push it down and make it real snug against the side, and I bet it would work just fine. All right, let's put that one in the rack. Now that's going to be a nice floppy little mold, but let's do one other thing. So I've got my cutoffs here, and I think it's enough. We're going to grab a mold, and by mold I mean a 1.5 PVC with one of our Maker Select plugs in here. We make these also in Arizona. This is Schedule 40 PVC from Home Depot. We do sell it, and it is pre-beveled and cleaned up for you, but you can get it at Home Depot and just get the plugs from us, and they work awesome. But what I think we got here, that would make a nice handle for something. I bet this will be almost, huh?
You already sprayed that one, same thing on PVC with mold release?
Question is mold release. Yes, same thing. Stoner. This one has been used so much, it's like good. I don't spray these every time anymore because I've used these for years and they're like slick inside. A lot of times the stuff just falls out when you take the mold out or the blank out. So when I do this, I'm going to fill it up halfway and kind of shake it because I want it to settle and pack down in there as much as possible. If you just pour it, it'll like have a lot of dead air. But if I shake it up, it'll kind of find its settle. Oh yeah, we're going to have plenty. We'll have a little extra. Here. So see, we're getting down in there.
You should put the extras in a ring blank.
A ring blank would be cool too. I don't think we've done a ring blank. All right. Here, I'll take the top couple off and we'll do a ring blank. Since we got room, oh no, look at this. I just found a whole ring blank full of resin. All right, let's pop this out. So this is a Maker Select ring blank. Boy, a lot of Maker Select talk today. Good. 9 blanks, 3 by 3. I'm going to pop one out. Hopefully. These have had to be in here for like a year because I haven't cast rings for a while. Okay, so it didn't come out. If I give it a little... Is it moving? Let me give it a whack here. One thing you don't want to do is leave your blanks in the mold forever. I'm gonna have to get a punch.
Why would that make it more difficult?
Well, they kind of shrink as they cure, but then I think over time they kind of like. There's a punch on my table over there. Will you grab me a punch that'll fit in this and a little hammer?
Yeah.
Or actually, just give it a tap and then bring it back, and it'll pop. It'll pop right out. So. Yeah, those I probably threw those in there on a live stream last year or something and forgot about them, and they were just on the rack where I couldn't see them. Amy, if you can hear me, oh, there you go. That's good. You don't have to knock it out. Just a little space. So with our molds, if they do get stuck, you can tap with a punch, and then use air or just tap it all the way out. Almost always they pop right out with air, but since these have sat so long, it's a little more stuck.
I don't know where a hammer is.
What do you got? Let me have it.
But I think my tapping was.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're good.
It's loose.
So Amy just,
Here's the punch.
I don't need it. Amy knocked it loose. You can see it's sticking up. So now it'll come right out. That was a good shot. Always wear eye protection. If you watch,
Take them all out?
no, I'm just going to do the one. If you watch Zach Higgins do removal on his molds, they go flying to the roof. So, one key thing, put the plug back in or all your resin will run out the bottom. Okay, so we'll just put in, we've got our 2 molds here. Oh, you know what? We may not have enough resin. I might have to mix up a little more.
We got a question.
We got a question. Go ahead.
We struggle to get things like stoner mold released in New Zealand with
Ooh.
silicone spray work.
So the question was, would silicone spray work for mold release? You know, honestly, I don't know. All I could say is just try it and see. Because I've never done it, so I can't really give you good advice or any real advice. Sorry to say. You know what we'll do here? We're going to do 2 pressure pots. And I move this one. Get down there. Get down on it. Okay. So we'll do that one there. Why does that keep moving? I got a lot of resin in this mold. I made a mess of this one. Oh, I know what it is. Okay. There was a pencil stuck on the side. Okay, hopefully that'll work. You know, the only problem with this ring blank idea, and we'll see what happens, but I think they're all just going to float out. I guess I could set something on top of it. We'll see how it works. Let's do, okay, let's pour our resin. We're going to need more for sure because we've only got this little bit. Now remember we tested it earlier. It was 75 degrees. It's 87. It's actually heated up way more than I thought it would. All right, let's pour it in here. Now these, remember I was talking about the pencils will block the air. Like you can already see the air coming out of this. With the scatter, it's not near as bad because they're not laying all in one direction and like creating that like vortex or lock of air. So I'm not as worried in this blank as I would be in the pen blank, but you can see it bubbling like crazy. That's all the air coming out of it. Come on. May not have enough resin. I don't know if it's worth mixing up just for the ring. But we do need a tiny bit more for this. So we'll just go ahead and mix up like an ounce or 2 and see what happens. Let's get this off of here. We'll Just use our cup. So remember, 2 to 1 with liquid diamonds. So we're going to put, we'll do 1.5 ounces, because I don't know how far that's going down in there. Come on. All right, 148, so we need 0.74. What was that?
The punch falling.
Ooh. Oh, we were so close. Oh, no, we're good. 0.74, 0.78, it's flashing. Depending on where I stand. All right, so we'll mix it up. While I'm doing this, any questions, you guys? I know this is just a pretty simple cast, but these little tips on placement and like the patterns really make a difference in the look of what you're making. Has anyone made a big vase or anything cool out of colored pencils?
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you ever put dye or mica in the resin?
The question was, do we ever put dye or mica in the resin? Sure. A lot of times I'll do random colored pencils, like not lines of layers, just like random here and there, and then fill it in with like a color. And it looks really cool. And what you'll get is like the solid color with like the streak of a pencil or the end of a pencil, and it looks really neat. So yeah, it's just like anything else. Experiment and you'll probably come up with some really cool stuff. Good question. Tips for turning. So tips for turning, I turn these kind of a lot like Fordite. Like I will use a lot of thin CA before and after and during turning. I'll thin CA them when I drill. I'll thin CA after I put the tube in. I'll put CA around them while I'm turning to kind of hold them all together, and I'll work on one area, then CA it and work the other area. And then before you do any sanding or anything, you want to soak your finished piece or your finished turn in thin CA, just coat it, and that way the thin CA will soak in, because otherwise the lead of the pencil will get all over the place when you go to sand. All right, we'll fill this up here. Nice and bubbly. We were so close to the top. Look at that.
Hope Zach's not looking at that clear resin-free bench top, LOL.
Zach would have an aneurysm if he saw my scale and like how I mix 0.75 is close enough to 0.74. Zach and I are very different animals here. All right, so we're gonna set this one in the pot.
Can't argue with his results, though.
No, I mean he does a great job, so I don't argue with his results at all. Hey, this looks like it's getting a little set up, which is kind of good. I didn't think it would set up very fast. And it's not like it's curing or hard, it's just getting a little thicker, which is good. So I'm just piling these on top of each other for weight. Probably not the best way to do it. Oh, see this? It's floating up already. I should have showed that here. It'll do it again. Let's see, what could we do? I got an idea. Oh, you know what? That's not going to fit in there.
You don't put something on top, will they start to come out and over the side?
Yes. Yeah, so you can see this is, well, let's go for this camera. Here, you look on this one. Mm-hmm. You can see they're floating up. I already pushed them down, but watch. They're going down in, and the resin's coming up. So, yeah, they definitely would float up to the top. I got 3 more pencils I can drop in there. So we would either want to put tape or something on this, you know, to push it down. If you had enough room, you could put a cup over it and set something on it. But I'm going to kind of cram this in the side here. So let's see what I can put on top. Use a little bit of this for balance. This is a real Real fancy setup here. Oh, you know what I got? I'll use a big mold plug to hold it in place.
Can you, oh, yeah, can you put another end cap on?
Yeah, you know, that's not a terrible idea. Actually, I'll set another end cap on it just for the weight. I don't think I can push it down in. That would be too much. But that's not a terrible idea. All right, so I'm just stacking stuff on it to, I'll just use a heavier end cap or a heavier plug. No, that one won't fit. I think it'll work. It looks like it's holding it enough. Ideally, don't, you know, I was talking about being prepared for casting. I definitely was not with this one because we're worried about it floating.
Let me grab some tape.
No, it's fine. And then I think what we'll do here is just, we'll see how the liquid diamonds does out of the pot because I don't have enough room now. So we'll just pour that guy in there. And I think we'll be good. All right. So let's put this guy on. I'm using the California Air Tools 2.5 gallon. You guys have probably heard me say it a million times. This is the best pot for most everyone. Very few people need a bigger one. A lot of people think they need a big one, but very few really do. These are ready to go right out of the box. So you can open the box and start casting with it, which is really nice. In the old days, you had to do a lot of changing of parts and fittings and things. But this one will be ready to go. All right. And I'm going to put 50 pounds in this. 40 to 50 is probably good. So we'll do that. Actually, we'll do 45, and that way we can show everybody tomorrow. All right. And there we go. See how easy it is? Actually, that is the easy part, just so everyone knows. The turning is much more challenging because you're turning two things that never were intended to be together. And colored pencils are inherently like cheaper wood and cheaper material inside. It's soft lead or whatever. Is it lead in a colored pencil? It's soft with wood around it, and then you're putting it in plastic. It's just kind of a funny thing we do, but it really is cool and worth the results. Yeah. So that's all I got today. Pretty easy stuff. Any other questions before we go? Seems like a quiet day, quiet chat. I'll show these blanks tomorrow. We'll pop them out and show them, and we'll do some turning on them soon. I'm not going to commit to any time frame because it's like 110 out right now. I went out with this temperature gun right before the live stream and got 179 on the ground. Crazy. All right.
Do you line the bottom of the pot in case it spills?
Do I line the bottom of the pot in case it spills? No, I don't. But it wouldn't hurt to do something or spray a bunch of mold release in there every once in a while so that if it did, you could pop it out. Most of the time you can. I know some people will pour resin or silicone in there every once in a while and keep the pot level. That way it levels it off, but then you're losing space. So, I don't know. But yeah, all right, colored pencils.
Does the bottom of your pot look like your table?
Does the bottom of the pot look like my table? No, it's not too bad. I'll show it next time. I didn't think to show it. There's a few little bits and bobs in there, but not much. No. All right.
Can you tell folks what we're doing next week for the live?
Next week we are doing steampunk pen blanks, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but not out of watch parts.
Yeah, not watch part steampunks. We're doing the copper aluminum plating steampunk blanks next week. So that'll be a lot of fun. We're going to make the blanks and cast them, and then we can always turn those down the road as well. But those are a real popular one. They're a lot of fun. They look really good on pen kits. So that'll be a good one to do. So if you're interested, like and subscribe.
We also have a big announcement next week.
And there's a big announcement next week, but I can't tell you what it is because I'm not sure what it is, but Amy will tell us.
Yeah, you know.
Okay, I know. All right, thanks everybody. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, and we'll see you next week. You gotta hit end.